All right, welcome to the deep dive, where we take a deep dive into all the stuff you've been meaning to read.
That's right.
And today we're talking about rebuilding trust. And you guys sent us some great articles from Choosing Therapy and Ramsey Solutions, both on that topic.
Yeah.
So clearly this is something that you're interested in, something maybe you're dealing with. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess the big question is, can trust really be rebuilt after it's broken? And how do we even know when it's starting to go?
That's a good question. And I think a lot of people think of broken trust as these big betrayals like infidelity or a lie.
Right.
But these articles really point out that it's like cracks in a foundation.
I like that, the cracks.
Yeah.
So what are some of those cracks? I mean, the articles mentioned a lot of things, but one that stood out to me from Choosing Therapy was, if your partner is constantly checking up on you, like needing to know where you are every minute, that's a sign of trust breaking down.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, right?
Right.
You think they care. That's why they're checking up on you.
Yeah.
But what choosing therapy is saying is that that's more about their anxiety than your actions.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And Ramsey's Solutions had some good ones too, like
Yeah.
keeping secrets, especially about finances.
Right. Which
yeah.
is a huge red flag.
Yeah.
And then also always assuming the worst, always catastrophizing.
Right. Yeah. Expecting you to mess up all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what Ramsey Solutions points out is that erodes the foundation of safety.
Right.
You need to feel safe in a relationship in order for trust to flourish.
So to be clear, we're not saying if your partner asks you once where you're going,
Sure.
it's over.
No.
It's about
It's about patterns.
patterns. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So let's say our listeners out there and they're thinking, oh, this sounds a little familiar.
Yeah.
Trust has been broken, maybe badly. What do we do now? And both articles really focus on the person who did the hurting,
Right.
what they need to do to start rebuilding.
And they're both super clear about this. It's about action, not just words. Like Ramsey Solutions has this whole 8-step process.
Wow.
And it starts with taking responsibility, like not just saying sorry, but really owning what they did
Yeah.
and acknowledging the pain they caused.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, too, is they point out that they need to forgive themselves.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because otherwise they're carrying around all these guilt and shame.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to show up authentically in the relationship.
That's a good point. I never thought about that. I like that. And Choosing Therapy had this idea of what they call proactive transparency.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
Yeah. And that's not just answering questions when asked, but like going above and beyond
Right.
to be open. Like,
Sharing your location,
yeah.
being upfront about your finances,
Yeah.
your feelings.
Yeah. So it's really saying, I'm not hiding anything anymore. I'm
Exactly.
changing how I'm approaching this whole thing.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
So that's the person who did the hurting.
Right.
But what about the person who was hurt? Like, how do you rebuild trust
Yeah.
when you feel like the whole foundation is gone?
Right, because you're probably feeling a whole bunch of things.
Yeah. Anger, sadness,
Fear, confusion.
confusion.
All the things at once.
Yeah. So Choosing Therapy has some advice, and it might sound counterintuitive, but they say, don't rush into decisions
Yeah.
or forgiveness
Right.
until you're ready.
Take your time. You're allowed to
Yeah.
feel all those things.
It's a process.
It is.
And while you're figuring all that out, they have this great tip. Look at the other healthy, trusting relationships you have in your life.
That's so good.
Remind yourself that not everyone is out to get you.
That's such an important point because when trust is broken, it can feel like
Yeah.
the whole world is a scary place.
Yeah, everyone's going to betray me now.
Right. Exactly.
That's not true.
It's not true.
Yeah.
There are good people out there.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And it also reminds you that you are worthy of that trust.
Yeah, that's a good point here.
You deserve to be in relationships where you feel safe.
Okay, and while it's important to be open to what the other person has to say,
Yeah.
Choosing Therapy also says you don't have to sacrifice your own needs or boundaries.
Oh, that's crucial.
Yeah, even while you're hurting, you still have responsibility
Show yourself.
to yourself. Yeah, to communicate what you need.
Yes.
Deal breakers, all that.
Exactly.
So the big question I think everyone's wondering is, can trust really be rebuilt after a big break? Can you really go back to that feeling of safety? Or is it changed forever?
Right. And that's where we're going to head next. And I think it's fascinating because both these articles kind of suggest something unexpected.
What's that?
They're saying Yeah, it's not only possible to rebuild trust,
Yeah.
but sometimes the relationship is even stronger than it was before.
Stronger. Hold on. Stronger after a betrayal. That sounds crazy.
It does, right? But they're suggesting it's not magical thinking. Rebuilding trust forces you to confront the hard stuff.
Oh,
It's like you're tearing down the old foundation and
Yeah.
building a new one, brick by painful brick.
So it's not about going back.
It's about building something entirely new.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a lot to think about. We've seen that trust can be broken in subtle ways.
Yeah.
Rebuilding requires action, not just words.
Right.
Even when you're the one who was hurt, you still got to communicate your needs.
Absolutely.
And we've even hinted at the possibility that a relationship can come back stronger.
After all that.
Yeah, but we're going to dive deeper into that next time.
Yeah, and for our listeners out there, as you're thinking about all this, we want to leave you with this. If you were to start rebuilding trust today, what would be the very first thing you'd do? We'll be back after a short break to explore that and more. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the deep dive so you don't miss it.
Yes, please do.
So before the break, we asked you, what's that first action you would take to rebuild trust? And it's a tough one, right?
Yeah, because it's about, like, really looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Not just at the situation,
Exactly.
but, like, where am I at?
Yeah, what are you bringing to this?
Yeah.
And both Choosing Therapy and Ramsey Solutions, they both have some pretty concrete advice for like, okay, how do we actually do this rebuilding? What does it look like for the person who did the hurting, the person who was hurt?
What are the tools? Give us the tools.
Give us the tools. And it's so interesting, right? Because they come at this from such different places. Like Choosing Therapy is therapy focused.
Right, obviously.
And Ramsey Solutions is like, money.
Yeah, yep.
But they land on some really similar things.
Okay, I like that. So give me one that's similar.
Okay, so one that Ramsey Solutions talks about that I just love is having regular, they call them State of the Union meetings.
Okay, now that sounds really formal.
It does, but hear me out.
Okay.
It's this idea that you schedule time,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's weekly,
Okay.
to talk about the relationship. Not just like, hey, how was your day?
Right.
But like the nitty gritty. What's working, what's not working.
I see. So like a check-in.
A check-in, yeah. And it can actually prevent blow-ups later.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Because instead of letting resentments build, you're addressing them head on.
So it's like preventative maintenance?
Yes. Preventative relationship maintenance.
I like that. Write that down.
Yeah. And it shows commitment, too.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like, hey, this relationship matters enough to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this time aside.
Yeah.
We're going to work on this.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Communication alone, that's not going to fix everything.
No. Especially after a big betrayal, right?
Yeah, you need more than just words.
Way more.
Yeah. Both these articles talk about boundaries,
Mm.
which can be tricky.
So tricky, yeah, because it's about protecting yourself.
Right.
But it's also about rebuilding trust.
How's that?
Because it's like saying to the other person, okay, here's where my line in the sand is. If you respect that, that shows me you're taking this seriously.
Right, so it's action, again.
It is action, always action.
So what if you set a boundary, but you don't enforce it?
Ooh, yeah, that's a problem.
What happens then?
Well, you're basically saying your needs don't matter.
Ouch.
Right. And that can be damaging, like for your self-esteem. So Choosing Therapy says, if you're struggling with this, start small.
Small boundaries. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. It could be something as simple as like, I need some time alone tonight.
Okay.
Or I'm not comfortable talking about this right now.
Oh, I see. So just practicing saying no?
Practicing. So then when the bigger stuff comes up,
Right.
you've got that muscle built.
Okay, so we got communication, we got boundaries. What else is there? Concrete stuff people can do.
Well, Choosing Therapy talks about this idea of, remember we talked about proactive transparency?
Yeah, going above and beyond to be open.
Above and beyond. So it's like sharing your location, being upfront about finances, even just talking about your day and how you feel.
Right, just kind of volunteering that information.
Volunteering it.
Yeah, okay.
And then Ramsey Solutions adds to that, like the importance of actually making amends.
Okay, so not just saying sorry.
Nope. It's got to be action.
Yeah, like what would that look like?
It depends, right? Sometimes it's a sincere apology.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like restitution, if money was involved.
Yeah.
But sometimes the most meaningful amends is just changing your behavior.
Oh, I see. Showing that you learned.
Showing you learned, yeah.
And you're not going to do it again.
Exactly.
But a lot of people listening are probably like, what if it's me who needs to rebuild trust? I'm the one who messed up.
Oof, that's a hard place to be.
Yeah.
But it takes courage to admit it,
Yeah.
and that's where it all starts.
Okay. So that 8-step process from Ramsey Solutions?
Remember that.
Yeah, vaguely.
It applies no matter which side you're on.
Right, right.
So taking responsibility, that's step one,
No matter what.
no matter what. And this is where that, like, forgiving yourself thing is so huge.
Oh, right, because it's easy to get stuck in the guilt.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and the shame spiral.
Yeah.
But choosing therapy says forgiving yourself doesn't mean you're saying what you did was okay.
Right.
It's about saying, I'm human, I made a mistake.
And I'm trying to do better.
I'm going to do better. It's about giving yourself the same grace you'd give a friend.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
And once you've done that, then you can focus on the actions.
Right, like being transparent, keeping your word.
That's it, showing up consistently.
Okay, so let's flip it around. What if you're the one who was hurt? That can feel like the hardest work, even though it's not your fault.
Totally. And the articles are real about that.
Yeah.
Choosing therapy is like, listen, this is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You're going to feel all the feels, and that's okay.
Like, give yourself permission to grieve.
Yes. Grieve that loss of trust, because it is a loss. It's a loss of safety, of security, maybe even the future you thought you had.
It's a big deal.
It is. And I appreciate that choosing therapy doesn't offer quick fixes.
Right.
They're like, healing takes time.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way to feel. But one thing they do say that's so important.
What's that?
Focus on those healthy, trusting relationships in your life.
Oh, right. The ones that are working.
The ones that are working. Because it's easy when you've been betrayed to think everyone is untrustworthy.
Yeah.
But remembering those good people,
Yeah.
it helps you keep the faith.
Like an antidote to the bad stuff.
It is. And it reminds you, you deserve that good stuff.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. You are worthy of trust.
Okay, so while you're healing, both Choosing Therapy and Ramsey Solutions talk about setting those boundaries.
Right. Because this is where it gets personal.
Yeah, everyone's going to be different.
Totally. But the key is to figure out, what are you absolutely not okay with anymore?
Yeah, the deal breaker.
The deal breakers. And once you know them,
Got to communicate them.
gotta communicate clearly, respectfully.
Yeah.
It's not about controlling the other person. It's about letting them know what you need.
To feel safe.
Feel safe, yeah.
But setting that boundary, that's only step one, right?
It is. You gotta enforce it.
Right. If they cross that line,
Consequences, yeah.
what kind of consequences?
It could be a break from the relationship,
Whoa, okay.
maybe even ending it,
Right.
or even just a conversation about how their actions impacted you.
Yeah.
It's about showing yourself and them that you're serious.
About protecting yourself.
Protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Your well-being.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about taking time to heal, setting those boundaries, remembering the good relationships.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So much. What else can someone who was hurt do to start rebuilding?
Choosing therapy talks about being open to hearing the other person's side,
Okay.
but without rushing forgiveness.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a process, so you can listen, try to understand, but you don't have to immediately be like, oh, it's all good.
Right, no pressure.
No pressure.
Okay. And this is where I think vulnerability comes in. Both articles talk about that.
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah. Choosing Therapy calls it leaning into the discomfort.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen.
You can't control the other person.
You can't guarantee they won't hurt you again,
Exactly.
but you can control how you react,
Right, how you show up.
whether you stay open.
Yeah, are you willing to risk being hurt again?
Because it might be worth it.
It might be.
And this is where Ramsey Solutions comes in with co-creating a new future.
Yes. It's not about going back.
To how it was,
Nope.
but building something totally new.
New and improved, hopefully.
Stronger, yeah.
Stronger because it came from the fire.
Ooh, that's a good one. The fire.
And that's where we're going to pick up next time, how vulnerability can actually be the key
to an even better relationship.
than before. Yeah.
Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we were talking about how a relationship can actually be stronger after a betrayal.
Right. Crazy idea, but...
Yeah, like, is that for real? Can that really happen?
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a fairy tale.
Right.
But what Choosing Therapy and Ramsey Solutions are saying, it's not about just forgetting what happened, but like using that experience, even though it was bad, to create something new.
And I think a lot of people listening are like, okay, in theory, that's great, but how do we actually do that?
Yeah, what are the steps?
Yeah, give us the steps.
Okay, so it starts with that foundation we were talking about. Honesty, vulnerability, and co-creating something new together.
Okay.
And choosing therapy really stresses communication,
Yeah.
But not just any communication. It's got to be intentional.
Right, right.
They suggest those State of the Union meetings.
Oh, right, the scheduled check-ins.
Yeah. You make time
Mm.
to talk openly and honestly about how things are going.
So it's like a safe space to say what you're really feeling.
Safe space, yeah. And to hear the other person, too.
Without getting defensive.
Without jumping to conclusions, yeah.
It's about empathy, basically.
So it is.
For yourself and for them.
And then Ramsey Solutions adds to that, focus on solutions, not just the problems.
Oh, that's good.
Right. So instead of just dwelling on what happened, it's like, okay, that was bad. What can we do now?
So that's the co-creating part.
Exactly.
Or building something new.
Yeah, together.
Okay, but that takes vulnerability.
Big time.
And that can be scary, especially when you've been hurt.
Super scary.
It's like letting your guard down again.
Yeah, risking getting hurt again.
Yeah.
But the idea
Mm-hmm.
that the connection is worth it.
The love is worth the risk.
Exactly.
So we're talking about having these hard conversations,
Mm-hmm.
setting boundaries, being honest, focusing on solutions.
Yeah.
Anything else people can do to help rebuild trust.
Well, choosing therapy talks about making new positive memories together.
I like that.
Right? It's about shifting the energy
From the bad stuff
from the past.
Yeah. to looking forward.
So it could be something small, like trying a new restaurant,
Okay.
taking a weekend trip,
Yeah.
or even just trying to have more fun in your day-to-day.
Oh, I like that. Bring back the laughter.
Exactly, because it's so easy to get stuck in that seriousness.
Right. Everything feels heavy.
Yeah, but those positive experiences, they remind you why you connected in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ramsey Solutions adds to that. Focus on each other's needs
Okay.
and express appreciation.
Oh, so it's not just about fixing the bad.
No, it's about building up the good.
Like actively building that love and respect.
Exactly, brick by brick.
So we keep coming back to vulnerability.
Can't get away from it, can we?
It's the key to all of this.
It seems like it.
But it's also terrifying.
It is, because it means you could get hurt again.
Right. You're opening yourself up to that.
You're letting go of control.
Yeah.
But what these articles suggest is that in that letting go,
Yeah, okay.
that's where the magic happens.
Oh, interesting. So it's almost like the more you try to protect yourself,
Yeah.
the less you're actually able to connect.
It's counterintuitive, right?
It is, yeah.
But they're saying that surrender,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the real connection is possible.
It's like that saying, the best love stories are the ones that have been broken and put back together.
Exactly.
So the brokenness is almost necessary.
It's part of it, yeah. Because when you've been through that,
Yeah.
face the darkness and come out the other side, that love is
More resilient.
deeper.
Yeah. That's powerful. But even with all the right tools, rebuilding trust, it's not always easy.
No, it's not. And sometimes it's not even possible.
Yeah, it's important to acknowledge that,
Absolutely. And there's no shame in walking away.
if that's what you need to do.
Yeah. But even if you do walk away,
Mhm.
that journey of trying to rebuild,
Right.
it teaches you so much.
About yourself,
Yeah, what you need, what you're worth.
what you deserve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's valuable in any relationship.
Yeah, romantic, friendship, even work.
All of them.
So for our listener out there, as you're figuring this out for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
rebuilding trust,
Tough stuff.
yeah, remember, there's no right way to do it.
It's messy.
It's going to be messy.
It's personal.
Yeah. The articles you sent us, Choosing Therapy and Ramsey Solutions,
Good stuff.
they're a good place to start.
Roadmap.
Yeah. And we've only scratched the surface here on the deep dive.
Oh, yeah. There's so much more in those articles.
So go back, read them, think about what really spoke to you.
Yeah. And remember, you're not alone in this.
Lots of people have gone through this before.
Yeah. And there are people who can help. Friends, family, therapists.
Support groups, all that.
Exactly. And as always, if this episode resonated with you, please like and subscribe
Yes, please do.
and share it with anyone else who might be struggling with this.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
We are. Until next time, remember, even in the midst of all this, healing is possible.
Great stuff. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.